Hi everybody, welcome to the Southern Star and the Celtic Ross West Cork Farming Awards 2021 podcast, something we haven't done before. And before I go any further, just to introduce the people that are joining me on the podcast this afternoon. I have Tom Curran, who's the regional manager from Tegas. Hi Tom. I have Neil Grant, the general manager of the Celtic Ross Hotel, the co-partner of the Southern Star on the Farming Awards. Good to have you on board, Neil. Caroline Murphy, the owner of the very successful West Cork Eggs, with her branding there behind her, looking good. And JJ Walsh, business advisor and formerly of Carberry for many years. Hi, JJ.
Thank you.
And before we start as well, I'd just like to thank our sponsors of the 2021 West Cork Farming Awards. Many thanks to Scallies of Clonakilty, to Tegas, to Hudnut Ford, to AIB, to IFAC, to Bank of Ireland, to Drimley Concrete Works, and also two new sponsors that we have on board for the awards this year. Five Farms Irish Cream Liqueur, a fantastic product. And also Carberry, who've also come on board as a sponsor. We're very grateful to the support of all our sponsors. We couldn't make the awards work without them. So really the idea here was just a quick chat, a conversation about the awards, just to explain a little bit more how they work, and hopefully to encourage you as a viewer or a listener to either enter yourself if you're involved in farming and agriculture, or indeed to go and nominate somebody that you think deserves to be entered into one of our award categories. Now, the awards are in their 7th year, so there's obviously a demand for them, and they've been very successful to date. And right up until the pandemic struck in 2020, the awards were attracting around 250 guests at the end of the process to a gala Sunday lunch award ceremony, which was hosted very, very kindly and professionally and superbly by the Celtic Ross Hotel. And last year, obviously, with the pandemic, we had to move to a live stream awards, which still worked well. But we'll talk a little later about hopefully what plans might look like, Neil, for getting some kind of event back on track as restrictions lift, hopefully later in the year. First of all, though, I just wanted to throw it out to the judges and to Neil. Why do we think it's important, and particularly in this day and age, and maybe particularly after what we've all been through for the last 20 months, why is it important to celebrate farming and farmers in a region like West Cork? I don't know if anybody fancies giving us their thoughts on that to kick off with.
I will.
Or Caroline, fire away.
Sorry, Tom. Yeah, it's really important because farming is a way of life, and farmers work really, really hard. And it can be 24/7, 52 weeks of the year. And sometimes I think they're so stuck in the trenches and they just do it. They don't kind of think about what they're doing. They don't realise what they're doing. And without it, you wouldn't have your food, all this kind of stuff. So I think it's important for that recognition to be given and to be received. Just a well done, you're doing great. So I think we all need a well done and you're doing great. And for them, when you're stuck in the trenches, you don't realise the impact you have, but it has a huge impact. And what they do is massive for the economy, for everything. So I just think it's really, really important to recognise all the hard work, the long hours that farmers and farming families put into it. It is a great lifestyle, but it's hard work. So I think that should be recognised.
And you'd understand that, obviously, yourself, Caroline. You and your husband are dairy farmers, as well as running your other business, West Cork Eggs, as well. Yeah. So you can see it from both sides, no doubt. Yeah,
and they can be a little bit shy of receiving any credit or recognition. So I think that's why this is important, because it gives that platform to give that recognition and acknowledge all that hard work that goes on, because there's a lot of hard work that goes on.
There is absolutely, and often, as you say, a lot of, even though farmers may be part of a farming family, a lot of the work, a lot of the day could often be spent on their own as well, a lot of the week. So I think anything that gives an opportunity for, as you say, the pat on the back, but also the coming together and sharing of stories and accolades and praise has got to be a positive thing.
Yeah, and really badly needed after the last 18 months or so, that coming together, that recognition, that, like you say, sharing stories, sharing ideas, sharing all sorts of stuff, really, really important.
And Neil, I mean, the Celtic Ross has been involved with these awards from the beginning. In fact, if I remember correctly, the Celtic Ross came up with this idea at a very similar time that the Southern Star were kicking this idea around, and we came together and we created the awards together. So, and obviously the output of farming is food, and obviously local food, you know, is such an important part of your hotel's offering, and West Cork as a whole, our reputation for a food producing region. So just tell us a little bit, why was it important for you to get involved in these awards, to come up with this idea in the first place? What does it mean to the Celtic Ross Hotel?
I think for us, we were on a journey, so we were trying to improve our awareness of local food. We were trying to increase the number of local producers we used in our menus. We were trying to very much embrace that we kind of built bridges with farmers and with food producers that we maybe hadn't worked with before. We also were acutely aware that we were in a rural community, and our biggest customer was the farmers themselves, who were coming in to support us for a Sunday lunch or for a meal and such like. So for us, we were trying to go on a journey to, I suppose, kind of engage with the community a bit more and to show that we really cared. And I think at the time, we was a bit, I think everything that Caroline said resonated there. You get to know the farming community from them being your customers, and they're unsung heroes. They're people that are living a lifestyle and putting an effort into it, which we just felt was great to celebrate. And I think it was a bit of a meeting of minds with yourself, Seán, and with Con Downing at the time, that we just all said that this is something we should shout about. But I think more recently, what's been the most interesting thing is seeing from a tourism perspective how important the local people are, and how a visitor to a region wants to meet real people who are going about their business, doing real things. And that was where, out of the Farming Awards, the West Cork Farm Tours, grew out of meetings, at the Sunday lunch we had to celebrate the award winners. Some of them were the award winners ended up creating the West Cork Farm Tours. And we found that customers coming from the States or from Holland or from wherever, they were on a farm, they were learning about the produce, they were learning, why it was so amazing. But then they were also asking the questions of what's a day in the life? What do you do? And what do your kids do? And they wanted to really engage with people who are going about their daily business. So I guess that's some of the strands that have pulled things together over the years for us, that it's very important to us as a business.
Absolutely. We've seen that over the last 7 years working with you, and just the energy and the passion when we have the awards lunch at the Celtic Ross. There's a great buzz in the room. And of course, so this year we have the same award categories that we've had in previous years, but we have an additional award category. So there's probably not time on the podcast now to talk through all of the different award categories in terms of what sits behind them. All the details, actually, I should say, and we'll repeat this at the end of the podcast, can be found by going to www.southernstar.ie/farming awards. southernstar.ie/farming awards. That should be appearing on your screen now. But as in previous years, we have awards for Young Farmer of the Year. We have an award for diversification, the Diversification Award. We have the Dry Stock Farmer of the Year Award. We have the Dairy Farmer of the Year Award. We have a Hall of Fame Award. And we also have an award for outstanding achievement in the farming community. And then we also, as I mentioned, have a new award category this year, which is being sponsored by Carberry, which is the Sustainability Award, which is obviously a very hot topic in industry generally, but also very much so obviously in farming and agriculture. And Tom, I know we were talking a little bit earlier today about some of the criteria that maybe sit behind that, and why we felt that was an important category to maybe bring on board for this year's awards.
Yeah, so as you said, Seán, sustainability is a word that's bandied about quite a bit, but it's really made up of three aspects. That's economic sustainability. So that's really, the farming systems that we have in West Cork. Can farm families make a living, put bread on the table, pay their mortgages and their bills, and have a good quality of life with what they make from farming? So that's a key element of it. the environmental one is coming more and more into focus, and there are a lot of challenges there, but there's also a lot of opportunities for farmers. And we see farmers adopting simple things like putting buffer zones in along drains and streams, fencing streams off from stock to improve water quality, maybe planting in trees and hedges. There's been a good uptake of that over the last 20 years in West Cork. But also adopting new technologies like protected urea and low emission slurry spreading. All of those are helping the environment to improve water quality, to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. And look, I suppose, it has been said by Neil and Caroline already, but I suppose I think it's really these awards in general are hugely important in terms of acknowledging the really hard work and innovation that West Cork farmers show. And they're key members of the community in West Cork. We mentioned the farming community, but the community as a whole in West Cork, farmers are part of that. They're involved in their local clubs and their GA clubs and so on and so forth. So they're not a separate population on their own. They're actually, to me, the lifeblood of West Cork. That's where the economic sustainability comes into it. If those farmers are sustainable and can make a living on their farms, hard work as it is, they're spending that money in local towns and shops and businesses and in the Celtic Ross and other businesses all around West Cork. So they're really knitted very deeply into the fabric of West Cork. And I suppose that then ties in very much with the social sustainability in that, farmers are part of the community. They're part of that social system that is West Cork. So, it's really fitting for us to seek nominations from farmers or people who know farmers for a sustainability award, for somebody who is really maybe attacking sustainability on all those fronts, and to the betterment of the whole community, really.
I think you put it absolutely spot on there, Tom. And again, we would see that in the Southern Star newspaper, the importance of the local farming industry and the community in terms of how, as you say, the transactional value in local towns and villages in terms of money being spent locally and employing people locally, and how that cascades down through different businesses and into people's pockets right across West Cork. So it's vital. So the Sustainability Award that we would encourage farmers who are putting those steps into place into their farms to have a look at entering, or for somebody to suggest to somebody that they should be entering. Another interesting award that we have, and we've had some very interesting entries over the years, is the diversification category. And JJ, I know we were chatting a little earlier this afternoon because there are some very interesting things happening on farms where farmers are looking at diversifying, whether it's some farms are looking at, I remember looking at one down on Sheep's Head recently, a gentleman who was introducing pods onto his farm. Is there an area there that given West Cork's diversity of different farms and farmers, JJ, do you think there's more of those types of businesses out there and farms that should consider entering the diversification category?
Well, I think there is, because it's a two-way street. Because, as the podcast was going on there, the number of people in dairy farming is probably halving every 20, 25 years. And at my age, you can see, there's only a fraction of the number of farmers in dairying today that we had back, say, in the 1960s and the 1970s. And, it means that fewer and fewer children, and indeed teenagers, appreciate, what's happening in farming. And I suppose we need kind of ways of attracting people onto farms. And I think it's, getting people onto farms, getting kind of 4 and 5 year old kids, onto farms so they can mix with the hens, they can pick up the eggs. And, it's a thrill for everybody, and there's a video to be taken home. And, there's money to be made from that sort of thing. I know Caroline could tell us a bit more about that. And I think the farm walks, and I think, when I've been on the farm walks that Neil talks about, and I've been on one particular farm at least 5 times, and I can guarantee you every time I go onto that farm, I learn something new. I'm supposed to be somebody who knows something about farming, but there's always some aspect of it. And, I'll mention one farm, that's John Joe's farm, John Joe O'Sullivan there near Rosscarbery. His beekeeping project is amazing. And I was on a farm in Dublin recently, and I said, how did you end up with bees? Well, he says, it's as simple as this. I went into my local dentist, and his father was a beekeeper, but he had nowhere to put the bees. Oh, he said, I'll go into business with him. I'll fence off a space. He can put in the bees. And once I have some honey, he says, we'll all be happy. And Lord, these are the way things develop. And, you know, I was somewhere else recently. So bees and the whole pollination area is an area that people can immediately latch onto. And I think, you know, did I discover recently there that the honeybees are responsible for something like 80% of all pollination. So there's a host of ideas there. And I think, you know, getting people to come onto the farm to do a bit of camping, you know, and one day they can walk around the farm, they can appreciate the work that Clover does on farms, and they can appreciate the hedgerows. And I'm involved in a local GA club. And, you know, what people told me was, you're doing a phenomenal job, you know, on the playing ground, but you're not so hot on the peripheral areas, the fences, the ditches. And, you know, I learned this year not to spray the ditches. So I think, as somebody said, you know, everybody's taking an interest in their own local areas. But I think back to the farming, there's a whole host of things we can do there. I mean, to say, you know, you can sell milk, you can sell ice cream. And who knows? I mean, you could earn maybe an extra 10,000 for the farm, which could be vital. And you could do that over 3 months. Mm-hmm. And once you have got, you know, 1 or 2 points of differentiation, 1 or 2, you know, little catches to bring people onto your farm, that's all you need. And, you know, if you're a week in West Cork, you know, spending, you know, a morning on the farm, going to the beach in the afternoon. Today isn't a great day, but if you had a little open shed and a cup of tea and a whole host of animals to look at, you know, not too many, it would be a great interest to everybody. And I tell you, it's great for the farmer as well, because it enables him to look outside the gate, you know, and it's another step in, I suppose, showcasing and promoting the farming we have here in West Cork.
That's a great summary, JJ. So basically, we're looking for this creative thinking. We're looking for this lateral thinking and investment that's going on amongst farms and farmers, and whether it's farm walks or beekeeping or West Cork eggs, or creating your own brand and your own dairy off the back of your farm, etc., etc. We're looking for all these interesting and innovative developments amongst the farming community. So we're looking for entries in those kind of zones. Thank you for that, JJ. And I'm just conscious of time, so I'm just going to keep us going. But we have an interesting prize this year. Not just of course there's a prize for all the winners of the categories. Each winner will win a trophy and a certificate and a prize to the value of €500 from our sponsors. But there's also a prize this year for somebody who nominates somebody. And that nomination doesn't necessarily even have to end up being a winner. It's just by nominating an entry, you could win a prize. And Caroline, I'm going to turn to you, because I think originally when we had a bit of a brainstorm, this was one of your ideas, which was a sort of an away weekend, a kind of relaxation weekend for one lucky winner of somebody who nominates somebody would win this award. You might tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, who doesn't like to relax, Sean? And what a better place to do it than the Celtic Ross, right? So yeah. It's a match. And look, it's a no-brainer, really, do you know, because it's acknowledging the people that are nominating these people. So it's just to give that extra push, maybe say, you know something, I deserve this and they deserve that kind of thing. So look, it's a great prize. It'll help people, incentivize them to nominate somebody. Like I said, amazing spot to do it. You know, everything about the Celtic Ross is great. You have the views, you have the food, you have everything. So it's just to help people say, actually, I'm going to do it because everybody deserves some time off. And like I said, no better place to do it.
Fantastic. And many thanks, Neil, for putting the prize forward. I think it's a dinner and bed and breakfast. And I think we've also thrown in there a pampering experience of the winner's choice.
Well, I suppose to keep the sustainability piece and talk about economic sustainability, we'll get arrange kind of, there's 2 fantastic businesses up in Rosscarbery. Rebecca has a beauty salon, and then you've got the Sinead's hair salon as well. And we said, look, why don't we, if people book to come down, then we can put them up to give a bit of money to those businesses for them to pamper themselves. And then look, from the perspective of where we are, there's walks in the beach, there's yoga happening in the morning in the beaches in the weekend, there's anything you might need to just chill out and kind of switch off. And I think that more than anything, the last year and a half has taught us that we all need to switch off. So
exactly, a little bit of mindfulness and relaxation, I think, goes down well with anybody these days. It's important we all do that. And just to kind of to bring us towards the end, Neil, I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast that we're optimistic that hopefully we can put on an awards event at the hotel at some point in the autumn or late autumn. And and I know it's difficult, you haven't got a crystal ball at the moment, but any sort of thoughts at this stage around that?
Yeah, well, look, I think that was a big step forward, that weddings are increasing to 100 this month. That was something I did not see happening. There's also positive noises that they will look to loosen restrictions further as more and more people are vaccinated. So, look, I think the great thing is we'll be fluid with the date. In the past, we used to, do the Sunday lunch, the Sunday after the National Ploughing Championships, and we're not tied to anything this year. What we'll do is we'll see how things progress. But even if we could, get, 50 people in a room, socially distanced a little bit, if there's still some restrictions, and just have a celebration. I always thought that these Sunday afternoons were just amazing. Like, there was a feel good vibe. People brought their family members, their kids. It was the one day of the week I felt that, farmers tend to take a Sunday off and keep it fairly sacred. They never have a day off. They're always working, but they made time on a Sunday dinner to kind of be with the family. And if we could recreate that in some form, even if it's 50 people, but I'd be hopeful that they'll by October or so, we might be able to even get up to 100 or so people in a room celebrating, the unsung heroes and the hard work that they put into it. And I think that what I always love is when the awards were on, I always was getting texts from my mother-in-law kind of saying, oh, who won the farming awards? Who won this award? And like asking the question about who wins. And that wouldn't be me prompting, that'd be her, coming to me and wanting to know. So there is a real interest from the community as to who's doing what as well. So fingers crossed, kind of, maybe not September, but October, hopefully we might see that we can open things up a bit and have an actual sit-down dinner.
Thanks, Neil. And I can vouch for the interest in the local community. My mother-in-law and father-in-law were farmers from the Lett district, and same thing. I used to bring them to the dinner, and they really enjoyed it, and they were always interested in who won what awards. So, it's about that ear to the ground, as they say. Yeah, so I think that kind of brings us to the close. I think the main point we'd reiterate here is that we'd really like people to enter the awards, whether you are a dairy farmer, a dry stock farmer, whether you think you tick the sustainability box, whether you know somebody in the community that's doing outstanding contributions to the farming community over the years and would qualify for our Hall of Fame award. Like I said, all the details can be found on southernstar.ie/farming awards. All the details of the awards themselves, how to enter, the entry form itself. It's a very straightforward entry form. It won't take too long, and you can always add more information into that if you wanted to support the entry. If anybody has any queries or questions, they can call the Southern Star on 028 21 200, and we'll be happy to help out or to give you some guidance. And I mean, just to recap, I think at the end of the day, we feel that these awards, we like to see these awards as rewarding and celebrating everything that's great about farming and agriculture in West Cork, and to be very positive, upbeat, happy awards for this industry. And I think given the day that today is, where we've had 2 gold medal winners from Skibbereen and another bronze medal winner earlier in the week at the Olympics, and West Cork is definitely on a high. We want the Farming Awards to continue with that feel-good factor as we come off the back of this pandemic now, which has been a bit of a chain around everyone's necks for the last year and a half. And we're looking forward to another great set of West Cork Farming Awards for 2021, brought to you by the Celtic Ross and the Southern Star newspaper. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you to all my contributors and judges and Neil who've joined us today on this podcast. And we hope to see you again soon at the Celtic Ross Hotel or through the pages of the Southern Star.